We need to make sure that our children have the developmental capacity to do the things that we're asking them to do. We ask too much of our children emotionally and not enough physically. That's the general rule. That's the general trend that I see. We ask our children to stop it, calm down, be quiet, do as you're told, blah, 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 blah. We ask them to do all of these things that emotionally require so much regulation. Please let me emphasize this emphatically. Your child's emotional regulation capacity will not really be growing in well until they are at least 8 or 9. Now, they do have the capacity to regulate somewhat from about the age of 2 to 3, somewhat, but it's minimal and it develops on a continuum. It gets better and better as they get older. The more we practice these kinds of activities, these kinds of engagements and interventions with our children, the more that they develop the capability. We need to be regulated ourselves, and then they will learn. But please, if your kids are under about the age of 9, please do not expect them to be good at emotional regulation. You and I both know plenty of adults that are lousy at it. So we shouldn't be expecting our 6 and 7-year-olds or our 3 and 4-year-olds to be good at it. Having said that, there is plenty that they can do from a behavioral point of view. They have lots of capacity to pick up towels, put bags away, put shoes away, make beds, set the table, clean the dishes, empty the dishwasher. Excuse me, I've just suddenly got the hiccups. They've got the capacity to do all of these things so long as they're emotionally regulated. So if they are stable, if they are level, they can do a whole lot of things that we often don't ask them to do, but they can. So be mindful of what you're asking and whether it fits into the emotional regulation category or whether it fits into the behavioral regulation category. That matters. Kerry, I love it. The capability to be happy every day, all the time. Isn't it funny? Like, we have bad days and we expect everyone to be really gentle with us on our bad days, but when the kids are having a bad day, we're like, hey, stop it, calm down. What do you mean you're having a bad day? Cheer up. You've got nothing to be miserable about. Your life is so good. Look at the life that I give you. Marty says, my ADHD son is proof of this regulation at 9 years old. He's improving at regulating. Now to work on the listening. And Marty, I just want to emphasize here, when it comes to ADHD and autism, we should expect that the regulation timetable, the emotion regulation timetable will be a little slower. Not for every child, but for many. You throw in something like ODD, or you throw in a combined series of ADD, ODD, SPD, autism, and you've got to simply expect that their regulatory capacity will be significantly reduced. Paul, I love your comment. Those of us with ADHD have trouble showing our children how to be calm, composed, and considered. It's so hard to be regulated. It's so hard to be regulated in that circumstance, and it's so hard then to model it for your children. And we need to have compassion for ourselves in that circumstance. We need to recognize that we're not going to be perfect at it. Rely on our partner. Okay, confession time. Tonight, as we're having dinner, I decided that we love to have a Sunday roast. But we didn't get the Sunday roast yesterday, and I said to Kylie, well, I thawed out the piece of lamb shoulder that I throw on the barbie every week. You can get a really nice little lamb shoulder from Aldi, ridiculously well priced, and it's just the right size for our family. And I said, I've already thought it out. Why don't we have the roast on Monday night? I'll come home maybe half an hour early. I'll cook up the roast and we'll have a roast dinner. For whatever reason, I wasn't focused on the cooking, and it took about 40 minutes longer than it should have to cook because the barbecue temperature kept dropping and I wasn't out there to keep an eye on it. And so we were rushing for dinner so that I could get here for this webinar. While we were rushing for dinner, one of my adult children picked up the gravy boat, and instead of sloshing the gravy onto her plate, she sloshed it all over the placemat and all over the table. Now, I don't have ADHD, or at least I haven't been diagnosed with it, and I'm not going to claim it, although I've been told many times that I probably do have it because it's just the way I'm a little bit extra sometimes. But I didn't regulate, Paul, if we go back to your comment. I just didn't regulate at all. I was really annoyed that this child who should know better, like she's an adult, has just spilled gravy all over the table and all over our cane placemat that is brand new and is now going to have to be replaced because there's going to be gravy all through the placemat. We're not going to be able to clean that properly. Maybe we'll have to put it in the sink and then we're going to have a wet cane placemat. Anyway, I just... I was a little bit... I walked out of the dining room so that I didn't do or say anything that I shouldn't have. But everyone knew that I was cranky because that's why I walked out of the dining room. But I knew that I just needed to hold it together. And Paul, having having a backup plan, having a way to stay calm and balanced, even if it means stepping out, sometimes that's all you've got. We've got to remember we've got limited capabilities sometimes, and our kids do too.